Hey everyone, happy Canada Day. Welcome to a very special episode. Normally we don't do a video on Friday, but hence today being Canada Day and we love wrestling so much, we decided to do a list, a little bit of a different format on our greatest Canadian wrestlers. So this is a list that we think that we all put together. There were five different contributors. Campo, do you want to mention who the five contributors were?
Yeah, so it was me, JD, Putty, Caps, and Fab, JD's brother, my cousin.
Yeah.
We put the list together. So basically, we gave a point system: 11 points for first place, 2 points for 10th place, and like it lowers throughout that as you go down, and then two honorable mentions. And we just combined all the lists together based on the point value, to create this list of the 10 best Canadian wrestlers with two honorable mentions. And I think the list turned out really good.
Yeah, I think it turned out really well. And without further ado, let's get into the list. Putty, start off with who the first or the number 12, the first honorable mention is.
Well, I have no problem with that. Well, first, before I say that, I do want to say, well, thank you for letting me be part of Canada Day, because, well, I'm here in the States and we celebrate another holiday, but thank you guys.
On Monday, 4th of July. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be our Monday. So I get to actually celebrate something in the States and with you guys. So I appreciate that. But our number one is actually somebody that I didn't know was part of Canada. And it is the Rock's father, Rocky Johnson, as the first honorable mention in our top 12 or top 10, if you want to look at it that way.
So. Yeah. Absolutely.
Second honorable mention.
Second honorable mention. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he is a guy that not a lot of people realized what is Canadian. Well, he recently passed away, RIP Rocky Johnson. But not a lot of people realize he's from New Brunswick. New Brunswick is an East Coast province out in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And
started his whole career in Toronto.
Yeah, Maple Leaf Wrestling in the 70s. So if you watch Young Rock, they actually mentioned that a little bit.
I love that show.
Yeah, so definitely deserving to be there. Classic wrestler. Other than that, anything else got any talking points on Rocky Johnson?
No, let's not dedicate him too much time, buddy.
Yeah.
Already, so honorable mention.
All right, Caps, who's the next honorable mention? The top honorable mention.
Lance Storm, right?
Yeah, Lance Storm.
All right.
Yeah, that's the way we're going.
Sorry, I'm looking at the list. I'm like, okay. He's Canadian.
You just made the list. Yeah.
I think Lance Storm is
if I could be serious for a minute.
People. He is, though. He's one of the more underappreciated wrestlers of that era. He was very skilled. He chose to spend most of his time on ECW and the indie scene.
Mm-hmm. That tag team he had with Justin Credible, Lance Storm and Justin Credible were one of the best tag teams in ECW at the time.
He's very skilled. He brought a high flying type of wrestling that you didn't really see outside of the luchas at that point.
Yeah, and technically sound too. He was a great technical wrestler too. I remember that one time he won the WCW Hardcore Championship and renamed it the Saskatchewan Hardcore Invitational title, the shit title.
Nice.
But Lance Storm is our top honorable mention. So with that out of the way, here is the real list. Number 10, Campo, the honor is yours. Who is number 10 on the greatest Canadian wrestler of all time?
Pat Patterson, the first winner of the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
That he allegedly combined with the South American Championship in a tournament. Then we don't even know if
this mysterious tournament in Brazil.
But I think just his legacy with WWE means a lot. He did spend a lot of time there as a booker, as well as, in
the 90s, one of McMahon's goons.
They kind of got played for a joke after the goon part, where they became like just there, kind of like Mae Young and Moolah did. But a pretty good wrestler. If you go back and watch his matches, he's pretty good, especially for that time.
Yeah, there's a match between him and Pat O'Connor I still watch. Like, I'll go back and watch. It's such a good match. I think he was with Pride just passed. I think he was the first openly gay wrestler in the industry as well.
Openly, yeah, probably.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of gay wrestlers before that just didn't say
but I
anything.
mean, he was a trailblazer for that community, I guess. So good on Pat Patterson. Number 9, guy who grew up not too far away from here in Orangeville, Ontario, is Christian Cage.
One of my favorite bad guys. I will say that. One of my favorite.
One of the
bad
better
guys.
heels. I said this to Putty.
Yeah.
One of the best heels, maybe of all time. He's in the category of like he just knew how to get people to hate him.
Yep. Even Vince McMahon. Remember, there was that whole story. He didn't like his face, so they wanted to replace it with a blue dot on screen.
That would have been so funny. Can you imagine if they really did that?
But now,
ridiculous.
Think about if they do that now with the CG technology that we have now. He wears like one of those morph.
He just wears a green suit hat.
Yeah,
Green
and then
suit
that's
match.
it. And that's it. You just superimpose different faces on. It could work.
Yeah, he could be the new Putty.
Exactly.
We'll just put Putty's face on him.
All right, Putty. Who is number 8?
Number 8. Really? Okay. Come on.
I love how it worked out. I love how it worked out.
Oh my god. All right. So you talk about people you hate. I literally hate this wrestler. He got on the list. Maybe he's doing a good job, and that's Kevin Owens. I don't like him. I know I'm gonna let you guys take the handle, but I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm mad that he's on this list, but it's okay. It's a list based on numbers, and so I have no choice in the matter. But I despise this wrestler, and maybe he's just good at his job because I just hate him. I hate him. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, speaking of great heels,
Mhm.
one of the best working right now.
It's working
talker,
clearly.
An absolutely
Hate
great
him.
talker. He knows how to get under everybody's skin.
Yeah.
And he can work in the ring for a big guy. He's pretty
He's agile.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he does those rolling sentons, those cannonballs. Like he can move. Like he does moonsaults. Like, and the thing is too, he knows how to blend the line like between serious wrestler and comedic wrestler. Like what he's doing right now with Ezekiel, they're doing the whole lie detector test and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm waiting for him to call him out in a tag team match. But
like I like Ezekiel Elias. I like that whole gimmick, but it's like I hate that Kevin Owens initiated that. That's what bothers me about it. It's such a one. The funny thing between the two is funny, but for him to get so anal retentive about this, like, dude, I'll get over yourself, bro. Like, why is this a big deal to you? Like, you need to go out and do some stuff, bro. Touch some grass. You need to go do some stuff.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Clearly making me mad.
Caps, who's the next one on the list? Number 7, I believe it is.
This pick is based on what he did in the ring. Let's just get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris Benoit.
The Rabid Wolverine.
Yeah, he was probably one of the best wrestlers of his time. So I'll just leave it at that. And he had some really great matches.
Is it okay for me to say this? Because I'm just gonna be brutally honest, and I'm just gonna say this. Listen, there are people that have done things that are great in life. You know what I mean? But here's my thing: if you make mistakes, it's understandable. But sometimes you can't. And this is just personal. Again, I'm going to state my opinion. Mm-hmm. When you do something as bad as he did, no matter how good a wrestler you are, I don't feel like you deserve that acknowledgement when you do something so horrible, even when you were that great. I'm willing to acknowledge that he was a great but I feel like what he did erased that. And that's how I feel. And the reason I state that is because I don't want to use anybody, but if you were to take someone else that did something horrible like that, and they were a great painter, and they were good and they had best paintings, other people would be like, "What? Why would you celebrate that still?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I feel that way, and why I personally, you can ask them. I didn't put on my list, but yeah.
And we're not condoning. We are by no
yeah.
means condoning what he did.
Yeah, right.
It's
This is
completely
only
deplorable. Yeah, but as far as in-ring work goes, he has to be up there as one of the greatest of all time.
I'm not gonna pretend he's not good. I'm also not gonna glorify anything about him, but I think we're not gonna sit here and say he's the greatest person of all time. But his wrestling in-ring work is fine. And on your note, Putty, we can go back, look at all the great philosophers and stuff from thousands of years ago who were absolutely terrible people that we celebrate.
I'm not acknowledging them either, but
I'm just saying everyone. I get what you're saying. So okay, well, who's next?
That was number 7. Number 6, Campo. That's you.
All right, Edge.
You think you know me?
You think you know me?
I think Edge has grown to be one of the better wrestlers. especially for what's around nowadays. And he's still going after all the injuries. His career's been long. He's done a lot of great things. He's basically
after a 9-year hiatus, he's picked up right where he left off.
Yeah, and he tables, ladders, and chairs, tag titles, singles championships. He deserves where he is.
Well, see, at this point on the list, I will say this, and not just in general, the wrestlers that are coming up, including this, and Edges including this, are wrestlers that beyond like charismatically, personality wise, wrestling skills. These are people that have shined so much that they've stapled themselves as the greatest Canadian wrestlers in my eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Edge shadowed over Christian a lot in those ways, and I think that's one thing that.
But Christian came into his own as a solo wrestler.
Well, yeah, and I agree. But
especially
like
his work when he left WWE really was like
when he went to Impact and he set that career path for himself in Impact Wrestling at the time. Agreed. We're hitting into the top 5 with this one. Gentleman whose career was tragically cut short, and that's Owen Hart.
Yeah. I mean,
what he could have done.
I think that's why he's there, because we don't know where he could have still gone from this. Right?
He could have surpassed his brother. Who knows?
He probably would have, because Bret Hart's injuries eventually took over, right? We don't know if Owen Hart ever would have got injured because we never got to see it. It's very sad, but
yeah,
at least AEW's been honoring him with the
tournament.
Yeah.
So.
Owen Hart Foundation.
Owen Hart, number 5. Number 4, Putty.
I'm so glad I got this one though. I got Rowdy. I couldn't even say it right. I got Roddy Piper for number 4, and Roddy Piper. I mean, this to me was the roughhouse guy, like the original guy that like would get under your skin and was like more of a brawler than anyone else. You know what I mean? Like he was the one that he was more gritty in my eyes than anyone else, and he wore a kilt. You know what I mean? Like how could you say someone's more badass wearing a kilt? So
probably one of the greatest heels of all time.
But the thing about him was he tried so hard to be a heel and he couldn't because everyone loved him.
That's what I loved about it.
He set his own path.
Everybody remembers him smacking the coconut over Jimmy Snuka. There's one infamous story that he always used to tell. He was wrestling in Mexico once, and he had his bagpipes in the ring with him. And he goes, "Everybody, please stand for the Mexican national anthem." And he starts playing La Cucaracha on the bagpipes. He was saying like people were like throwing like those big batteries at him, like batteries. They had to escort him out of the ring because the heat was just so much on Piper. He, like you said, he knew how to get under people's skin.
He's iconic. He's absolutely iconic. We can devote a little more time to these guys here. But he also will never be forgotten just for his movie role in They Live.
Yeah. And oh my God. See, you literally said the one thing I love that movie.
And arguably put on one of the best wrestling matches ever with Keith David. So.
in the alleyway.
Like in the alleyway, which they recreated in Saints Row 4.
Yeah.
And see, that's another thing too. Like you had Hogan, all these guys that wanted to go as celebrities and go into movies. Piper was probably the first one to actually make a movie that was actually good in my eyes.
Which one was the first? Was They Live before No Holds Barred?
No Holds Barred was, I think, first, but No Holds Barred wasn't as good as They Live.
No Holds Barred sucks.
Yeah. I like No Holds Barred,
but see, that's the thing, though. It was okay for Hogan to go and make this movie, right? But when Piper wanted to make They Live, he literally had to quit the company.
So this is what happened. The movies that Hogan were doing were because he was being like rented out to the companies through WWE, and WWE was getting credits for those movies. But Piper's movie had nothing to do with WWE, and they didn't like that, so they didn't want to give him the
credit.
They wanted him to stay, and they would help him get in movies that they wanted, right? Not that. So,
I originally had Roddy Piper hired because he refused to lose to Hogan.
No, Caps, you advised me. I put him at number 2. From
you don't have to explain, Putty. This is just a combination.
But that's probably the reason why Piper never won a world championship is because he refused. I think
if we're going. What Piper was as a whole was great, but if we're gonna go here for the best wrestlers, the top 3 that we have
are the top 3
in that top 3.
I think sometimes this top 3 could even be arguable their top of all time.
Yeah,
of all time. So with that out of the way, number 3, the honor goes to you, Caps.
Kenny Omega. I've seen a few of his matches, and you can tell that he is incredibly talented. He can go, and he's Canadian.
He's from Winnipeg, you idiot.
Greatest gaijin wrestler ever in New Japan.
In Japan.
He is the person that, to me, personifies the fact that you don't have to be in WWE to be a great wrestler, to be one of the
superstar.
Greatest. Because him not going to WWE made him famous everywhere in the world except in the States. He's known everywhere. He's an absolute legend at this point.
And now is he getting that recognition he deserves.
There's no AEW without Kenny Omega.
No.
He invented the long form storyline to perfection. Every match he's in is great. The highest rated matches of all time by Dave Meltzer are all Kenny Omega matches. He's never had less than a 5-star rating on the Meltzer scale.
They say he's a generational wrestler. They're wrestlers that come along once every generation, and he's definitely one of them. I think he is probably the greatest wrestler of this current generation.
I think his legacy is not complete yet, so I understand, and I'm totally okay with him being at 3 here. But I think in my head, from after watching all the matches, you can make the argument that he's number 1.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. I just got introduced to him, and yeah, he is a wonder to watch. You guys know me. When it comes to just wrestling, yeah, he's superb at it. Again, I still haven't seen him as far as his outer ring work, because nowadays when it comes to wrestling, I consider the personality as well the wrestling. You know what I mean?
He's very flamboyant.
Well, no, so I'm saying
and big.
Well, Kenny Omega
larger
is a
than
very
life.
good wrestler. Yeah, he's a really good wrestler, but I haven't seen his personality shine that much because I've been watching the stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. That's like the kind of guy he is, right? Yeah. He's not like a really serious guy. He's very like animated, and
he is an anime character. He literally is an anime character.
See, I haven't got to see that side, so that's probably why for me at least. Yeah,
he's more New Japan than anyone else in AEW. Like he really brings that style over, and the fact that he's willing to wrestle hardcore, he's willing to wrestle technical, he can high fly, he can basically do everything.
He can do it all,
and his finisher is maybe the most untouchable finisher ever in wrestling. At this
I don't think anybody's ever kicked out of the one wing.
No, there's been 2 rope breaks, I believe.
I mean,
but nobody's kicked out from it though.
Jericho rope braked and Okada rope braked. And I think Naito kicked out actually.
And for those that are watching that don't know Kenny Omega, I'm going to say this. It does help, even with me, that he does Final Fantasy references as his moves. I mean, if you don't know who Sephiroth from Final Fantasy is, well, then you need to go play some Final Fantasy. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So,
the V trigger, right?
Yeah, exactly. The V trigger, the one way angel, like these are all references to Final Fantasy. And when I found out, when I realized that, I was like, okay, I do like this guy, but I mean, again, like I said, I can't wait to see more. I think that's what's hurting me right now is I haven't seen enough.
My camera just gave up on me there.
And like, there's just like Kenny Omega, like he's just like even no worries. Kenny Omega, just there's something about Kenny Omega. He has that it quality too. Like he has that it factor. Putty, I suggest if you go back and watch some older AEW, watch when he had the title run.
Watch his hardcore match against John Moxley.
Except the one with the exploding ring.
Yes, not that one.
But Kenny Omega, like I said, he's a generational wrestler. Not enough great things to be said about.
He carried so many titles, they had to cover him up Ultimo Dragon style. So
with that, Campo, who's number 2 on the list?
All right, you can't argue this guy being here. The career is fantastic. Chris Jericho, he's been successful in everything that he's done. WCW, WWE,
ECW,
New Japan, ECW, AEW. He's arguably, I would say, I'm going to be serious here. In terms of career length from start to finish, he's probably had the best career ever in wrestling.
Yeah.
It's still going.
And he's
Y2J. And right now he's a wizard. I'm just saying. Yeah, I had to say
it. I've never seen anybody reinvent themselves so many friggin' times and be so successful at it. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to go down as one of the best wrestlers ever. And I don't care. Like he's like some of the guys that we've said that are probably one of the best of all time, he's probably going to surpass them with
Well, I
the
mean,
career that
just
he's
when
had.
he made his debut in WWE at the time, you're making your debut against The Rock. You're interrupting.
Mhm.
You're interrupting a Rock promo.
He got a pop like epic pop.
Yeah, and this is a guy that in WCW was a mid carder. They didn't know what to do
Mhm.
with him. Eric Bischoff didn't want anything to do with him.
Okay, he had a few
Yeah, but he
great
was
matches
making
with
a-
Eddie Guerrero
He
And
did,
Dean
yeah.
Malenko,
and Dean
Yep.
Malenko.
the man of
was making that name for
1,004
himself.
holds, armbar, armbar, arm.
Hey,
But
he would have been a good matchup for what's his name from Zack Sabre Jr., Dean Malenko.
Well, his timing with the whole Y2J, because they were going through the whole Y2K thing, and like he
Mhm.
literally used that to his advantage to do that Y2J thing. And I just like the whole wizard thing that's happening now. He has this thing where he can turn something that may be bizarre to others. That's so great. And I mean, and then when you hear you come get some like that music
No,
kicks
when
in.
you hear "break the walls down,"
Exactly. No,
you're
but
like,
it's
oh,
the
no.
slow one. It comes, come get some. Okay, come get some. Then
Or
break
even
the walls,
now,
like that
what
whole
have
thing.
I
Yeah,
become?
his
I
new song is
know.
like it's fantastic.
You can
The
ask-
Judas in my mind.
You can ask
And,
Campo.
and who wrote that song?
He did.
He did.
Hey,
Yeah,
he
and so
has a
that's-
successful band on its own.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
literally, I got recommended on YouTube for his band, and you can ask Campo. We were literally, I don't know what we were doing the other day, but I'm sitting here watching the Judas video, and I'm like, dude, this song is so in my head. Like, I want everything.
It's
I
a
can't
good.
believe
It's
Michael Myers.
actually a legit good song.
Oh
Like
my god.
lyrically, musically, it's an actual.
and I was
good-
saying this to Putty when we were watching it.
I am cold like
When you
December
hear the song
snow.
in the matches, okay, you don't think it's Chris Jericho until you see him singing it in the video. Then you can totally hear that it's Chris Jericho. But when you hear without the video, you're like, oh, that's not Chris Jericho. But
Yeah.
you can hear his voice completely when you see him singing it.
Yeah,
It's
and
just,
right now, like you could see when the crowd. It's like one of the most over entrance songs,
Yeah, he's such a huge piece of crap heel right now, and they love
Yeah,
him still. So
and they love him for it.
and-
Yeah.
Even when he was in New Japan, when he started feuding with
Oh,
Omega,
Wait,
in
him
New
being a heel in New Japan is epic.
oh, I never knew about the
Him
New Japan
abusing
stuff. I
red
need to watch it.
shoes. Putty knows how upset I get when people bother red shoes.
yes,
And like he's always hitting red shoes and throwing them around and stuff.
Okay,
So,
yeah,
I need
that was
to
his
watch
whole
that, yeah.
Painmaker gimmick too, right? And his feud with Omega was like, "You're the Omega, you're the Omega. That means you're the last. I'm the Alpha. I'm the King. I'm the
when
top." He
Alpha
was
versus
tough.
Omega was an amazing match.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, either way, the one thing I'm always talking about for myself that I bring to wrestling but I always want to watch wrestling is charismatic personality, and Jericho is like above and beyond a lot of wrestlers. Like he hits that peak just like The Rock when it comes to personality. Like,
Yeah.
again, like you guys said, for him to come in and be able to actually shine during the Rock Stone Cold era there's no one else that was able to do it, and Jericho did it.
He
and
beat
he's
The
still
Rock
doing
and
it.
Stone Cold in the same night.
He unified the titles.
He's yeah.
I think last year it really solidified it this year, but last year when he was out of shape and he was having poor matches, and all of a sudden you see him in like January, February of this year, and all of a
Some of
sudden
the
just,
best shape of his life.
like and he's 50.
He's 50.
51.
He's 51.
Like
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, like he's
And he's got
surpassing.
at least minimum another 5 years left in him for sure.
He legit he should be in the title contention right now in AEW. That's how good he is still. He
But
belongs
even
in
like
that.
some of the matches that he's in, like he's going to be he just did Blood and Guts.
he did Anarchy in the Arena,
And, yeah.
which was crazy. And now
Yeah.
they're about to do Blood and Guts. Like these are hardcore matches.
Even the match at the pay-per-view this past Sunday, like it was a hard-hitting match too. It wasn't like it was like
I mean,
he
Suzuki and took most of the beating
Yes,
for that,
Suzuki.
everyone, and Kingston.
and Red Shoes' son there,
Yeah, he's great.
Umino. Yeah, that only leaves one last position, and was there ever?
Unanimous.
Yes, unanimous number one across the board. We all chose him, including my brother. Received the most points. There was never any doubt. The greatest Canadian wrestler of all time, the Hitman himself, Bret Hart.
Well, I'm just gonna say this: the greatest wrestler of all time,
Well,
Canadian or not.
I know we've had these conversations, and I'm going to take over this for one reason. I want to say this, okay? I grew up in America where, you know, they always did the Real American Hero and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Bret, even though I may not have had the passion for Bret Hart when I was younger, as much as like you guys might have had, here's the one thing I will say. When you guys were telling me to make this list and I was looking at the list, and I even didn't add Chris Jericho first because I didn't know he was a Canadian wrestler. But when I grew up and you said Canadian, the first name that ever came up, no matter if you liked him or hated him, was Bret the Hitman Hart. Nobody else. The Hart Foundation in general was Canadian. The whole what Neidhart I'm messing up his name right now.
Jim Neidhart.
Yeah, Jim Neidhart. Again, these are Canadian wrestlers that when they stepped into that world of WWE, basically said, "Listen, we are here to represent Canada, and we want to make sure that you guys here in the States know this." And we fucking knew. And I had to cuss about that because I just had to make that clear.
Yeah.
We knew. And even if you didn't like him, and I remember there were times that in the States they would get booed. And I'm sorry. I mean, I should apologize for it because it was a whole Canadian versus American thing. But the thing is when you represent your country so well, and so even when bad things happen with, you know, several things that we'll get into probably in this conversation, it was just he set such a high bar for so many wrestlers non-Canadian that
Yeah.
I just had to put that out there. I had to say, even in my list, even if I wasn't a fan, you can't say Canada without saying Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
Probably the best heel ever.
Yep.
Yep.
Agreed.
Like
Agreed.
he did not let it go. Even when he was in Canada and they loved him, he never lost the persona of being a heel. He's probably the first the first wrestler to be so openly Canadian. Like
Yeah.
his whole entire character was about how I'm Canadian.
The Canadian pride
the
that he
flags.
had.
When they were doing the flags with the American flag and then the Canadian flag, oh my God, like the rage that came out of people. But it was such a good storyline. Like it was something you didn't see much. Because I know we did get to the Russian flags, but Canada and America were so close to
in
each
your
other.
house
It's like,
in Calgary when
Calgary
they had the
Stampede?
5-man
Yeah.
match. That was arguably the loudest pop ever in the history of wrestling when Bret Hart walked out.
Yeah.
mhm.
So, I mean,
no one's matches have aged better than his.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the other wrestlers, like they give performances and all that stuff. I think I heard a wrestler say that when it comes to Bret Hart's matches, they're so realistic that you never know if they're actually real or not. But you know, as fans, we know the difference. But his matches in a short period of time are probably one of the best.
Well, he perfected the double turn.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
He put Stone Cold over. Stone Cold is Stone Cold because of Bret Hart.
Bret Hart. Yeah.
But then there's a lot of guys
And
today
The
that
Rock.
are acknowledging him.
Remember when The Rock put over Bret Hart put over The Rock? Everyone hated The Rock.
Yeah.
And no one wanted to believe in him. And then when he even talks about it. When he met with Bret Hart's like, "No, we're gonna make you look good." It's like we're gonna put you over. And like we got these characters. This is a guy who was so selfless in the ring. He did everything to make you look good. You could be a shitty wrestler, and his moveset was so good.
You looked amazing.
He could sell like Ric Flair. He could work the ring better than anybody. He's a great technical wrestler, a great physical wrestler. He had
the power to back it up too.
His sharpshooter was iconic.
Yeah, and see, another thing is when you're sitting there, you know how like you talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock being an iconic, rivalry between two things. That first rivalry that was most iconic was Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. It was the most iconic rivalry that ever happened, and even the most controversial thing, like I said,
the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah, the
we're going to talk
Montreal
about.
Screwjob. Yeah, when we get to that and everything, my point to the whole thing is for something like that to be so monumental, and just that because you remember at that point, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart already had so many matches together that were so legendary at that point. So it was such a heartfelt moment, or like a heartbreaking moment, to see that what they
it
just
makes
made.
it even worse. Because Shawn Michaels was already good at the point when he got to Bret Hart, but without Bret Hart's putting him over for the title, he would not have been the guy.
He wouldn't have there would be no DX without Bret Hart.
And
Literally, he
got his
coined,
main
he
title
called them a
scene
bunch.
because
You
of
guys
it.
are just a bunch of degenerates. He coined the term and created, literally, he created DX for them.
There's not enough you could say about him except he's just iconic, and any Canadian wrestler will tell you they got it. Kenny Omega is just Bret Hart times 5 in terms of like his like not in ability, just he took what Bret Hart did and he spread it out into all this new stuff because Bret Hart wasn't doing all of this crazy like off the ropes and stuff.
I agree, but the thing is with Kenny Omega, I just see Kenny Omega as just another wrestler. Bret Hart just did something more.
He was a
You
persona.
need to
The persona.
never say what you just said again.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega's not another wrestler.
No, I mean,
But
I'm talking about as far
Bret
as like
Hart is
personality
special.
wise.
Bret
Yeah.
Hart is the reason that Canadian wrestling is thriving so hard that it is. His family is the reason you have people like Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit and all these
And
guys.
Lance Storm and
Yeah.
even
the Hart
Kevin
family
Owens.
is legendary in Canada. Didn't
Absolutely.
Kevin Owens train in the Stu Hart gym?
No, Tyson Kidd was the last trainee.
Tyson Kidd.
But yeah, that's the list, guys. I'm going to show you guys our little spreadsheet over here that we did. This is it. Basically, this is our list. As you can see, there were some there were some mentions here that didn't make the list clearly. So with that out of the way, guys, thanks again for joining us. Thank you for your contributions. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys are fans of Canadian wrestlers and Canadian wrestling. Let me know who some of your favorite Canadian wrestlers are. There's some on the list that didn't make our list. So if they're on the list, let us know. I said list too many times. So with that out of the way, have a happy Canada Day, everyone. Have a happy 4th of July for my American followers. Putty, blow a small chunk of your land or something.
Yeah,
up.
right. I think we did
What
that
did
already.
Apu say in The Simpsons? You know, celebrate your independence by blowing up a small part of it.
Exactly.
Nice.
With that out of the way, guys, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.